There comes a moment in life when the greatest war you will ever fight is not with anyone outside of you. It's with yourself. It's not the competition, not the critics, not even the failures that hold you back. It's the silent battle inside your own mind. It's that constant war between the part of you that dreams big and the part that hesitates, between the part that says, I'll start tomorrow, and the whisper that says, do it now. Every day, this invisible war decides your future. The side you feed determines who you become. Most people lose this battle long before they even realize it's happening. They let comfort win. They let fear make decisions for them. They let laziness write their story. But not you, not if you're willing to fight for your own greatness. Hebrew. The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No one is coming to push you, motivate you, or hand you the perfect moment. The world doesn't stop to give you permission. You have to decide right here and right now that your life is worth fighting for. You have to take full command of your own willpower. Discipline begins the moment you stop waiting for the right conditions. It begins when excuses die and commitment takes their place. Most people spend their lives waiting for motivation to strike, but motivation is temporary. It fades, it shifts, it disappears when things get hard. Discipline, on the other hand, is constant. It doesn't ask how you feel. It demands what must be done. Hebrew, when your mind tells you, I can't, that's the exact signal that you must, because that moment of resistance is the threshold of growth. That's where transformation happens. The weak stop when they feel tired, the strong push when they feel resistance. You have to learn to move through the discomfort instead of waiting for it to disappear. The more you push through that mental friction, the stronger you become. Every act of self-discipline, every time you choose effort over ease, you're not just completing a task, you're reshaping your identity. You're proving to yourself that you are the kind of person who follows through, no matter how hard it feels. The real victory is not in what you achieve, but in the person you become in the process of achieving it. Each time you silence that lazy voice, each time you choose action over delay, you reclaim a piece of your power. Slowly, you begin to trust yourself again. You begin to feel the fire inside you that says, I can do hard things. You start to realize that no one is born disciplined. Discipline is built. It's carved out through repetition, through doing what needs to be done again and again, until it becomes part of who you are. That's when you stop fighting yourself and start commanding yourself. You see, the world doesn't reward potential. It rewards execution. Rewards those who show up even when they don't feel like it. Every time you act in spite of fear, fatigue, or doubt, you move closer to mastery. You don't need to be perfect, you just need to be consistent. The truth is, most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack self-control. They let temporary emotions dictate permanent outcomes. But if you can conquer yourself, if you can win that daily inner battle, there's nothing you can't accomplish. Every champion you've ever admired, every person who transformed their life, has fought this same silent war. The difference is they didn't surrender to the weaker side of themselves. They acted when they didn't want to. They showed up when no one was watching. They did the hard thing when it would have been easier to walk away. And that is the secret. The power to get things done comes from mastering yourself. When you control your thoughts, your emotions, and your impulses, you become unstoppable. The real world opens up to those who win the inner world first. Force yourself to do what needs to be done. Not because it's easy, not because it's comfortable, but because it's necessary. Because deep down you know the life you want will only come to the version of you that refuses to surrender. The day you stop negotiating with your excuses is the day you start becoming the person you were meant to be. You don't need to wait for motivation, inspiration, or approval. You just need to act, because discipline doesn't depend on how you feel. It depends on who you decide to be, and when you decide to fight and win that silent war within, the world itself will begin to follow your command. The right time doesn't exist. It never did, and it never will. You'll always find reasons to wait, to delay, to tell yourself that you need more preparation, more knowledge, or more confidence before you begin. But deep down, you know that this is a lie your mind tells you to protect you from discomfort. It's a trick of fear. It disguises hesitation as logic, delay as wisdom, and fear as patience. You keep telling yourself that you're waiting for the perfect conditions, but perfection is just fear wearing a mask. The people who win in life are not those who waited until everything was clear. They are the ones who moved while it was still dark, uncertain, and uncomfortable. They acted before they were ready. They learned by doing, not by planning. They understood that clarity comes after action, not before it. Waiting feels safe, but it's actually the most dangerous habit of all. Because while you wait, time doesn't. It keeps moving. Opportunities disappear. Confidence fades. Energy weakens. Every day you delay, your dreams lose momentum, and your faith in yourself begins to erode. You start believing that maybe it wasn't meant to be. Maybe you weren't ready. But that's the illusion your fear creates to keep you comfortable. The truth is, no one ever feels completely ready. Every great creator, thinker, or leader began before they felt prepared. They took the first step without knowing the outcome, and that step revealed the next one. Life rewards those who move, not those who wait. The longer you stay, why, in the comfort of planning, the harder it becomes to leave it. That's how dreams die, not from failure, but from hesitation. You must act before you're ready because readiness is built through action. Think about it. The moment you start moving, even if it's messy, even if it's uncertain, something begins to change inside you. You gain momentum, you gain clarity, you gain control. Every step forward gives you a lesson. Every mistake gives you strength. The act of doing is the path to becoming. You don't learn how to swim by standing on the shore and studying the water. You learn by jumping in. You don't gain confidence by waiting to feel confident. You gain it by acting in spite of doubt. The same applies to every goal, every dream, every change you want in life. The process itself creates the power you think you're waiting for. The world doesn't care about your excuses, your plans, or your fears. It only responds to action. You can spend years thinking about what you want, talking about your potential, visualizing success, but none of it matters until you move. The mind grows stronger only through movement. The spirit awakens only through action. You may not be able to see the entire path, but you don't need to. You just need to see the next step and take it with conviction. That's how progress works, not in leaps, but in steady motion. When you act, you give life something to work with. You send a signal to the universe that says, I'm ready to grow. And that signal attracts the right circumstances, people, and opportunities. Hey, Brad, so stop waiting for the right time. It doesn't exist. Stop convincing yourself that tomorrow will be better, that someday you'll have the confidence, the money, or the clarity you need. You won't until you start. The right time isn't a date on the calendar, it's a decision in your mind. It's the moment you stop waiting for things to be perfect and start making progress with what you have. Every second you hesitate, someone else is moving. G, building, creating, and growing. Don't let hesitation steal your destiny. The perfect time is now. The perfect person is you. The perfect moment is the one where you finally decide to begin, right where you are, with what you have, and who you are today. Because progress doesn't come to those who wait, it comes to those who move. Abri, there is a quiet pain that comes from doing nothing. It's not loud like failure. It doesn't make noise or attract attention. It sits deep in your chest, hidden beneath excuses and distractions. It's the pain of inaction, the ache of knowing that you could do more but choosing not to. This pain doesn't strike all at once. It grows slowly, silently, like a shadow spreading through your soul. It shows up in the quiet moments when no one's around, when the day ends and your mind whispers, you could have done more. You try to silence it with entertainment, with busyness, with denial, but it never goes away. Because deep down, you know the truth. You know that your potential is being wasted, that the life you want is waiting, and you are the only one keeping it from happening. Avoiding effort doesn't bring peace. It brings regret. We think that by doing less, we're protecting ourselves from stress, pressure, or failure. But the opposite is true. The more you avoid your responsibilities, the heavier they become. The tasks you postpone start to haunt you. The dreams you delay begin to mock you. You start to feel trapped inside your own mind, caught between the person you are and the person you were meant to be. This internal conflict eats away at your energy and confidence. The guilt of inaction slowly erodes your self-respect because somewhere within you, a voice keeps saying you were made for more. And you can't silence that voice. You can only answer it with action. Effort may be painful, but it heals, it purifies the soul. It replaces guilt with pride. It replaces anxiety with confidence. When you act, you break the mental chains that hold you captive. You reclaim control over your time, your mind, your direction. You transform that heavy energy of avoidance into forward motion. The moment you begin doing the work, the pain starts to fade. You stop thinking and start creating. You stop doubting and start doing. You discover that action is the cure for nearly every mental struggle you face. The human mind was not designed to be stagnant. It was built to move, to grow, to pursue. When you deny that nature, you suffer. When you live it, you come alive. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you strengthen your identity. You remind yourself that you are capable, powerful, and worthy of progress. You prove that your future matters more than your comfort. That's why the smallest step forward can feel so freeing. It restores your faith in yourself. It doesn't matter how much time you've wasted before. What matters is what you decide right now. You can rewrite the story today. You can replace regret with resilience. You can choose the weight of discipline over the burden of shame. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. One strengthens you. The other destroys you. So choose your pain wisely. Every day you have a choice to face the short-term discomfort of effort or the long-term suffering of regret. The easy path in the moment is always the hardest one in the end. The hard path today becomes the easiest tomorrow. Life will always test your will, but it will also always reward your courage. The act of showing up, of doing what must be done, even when you don't feel like it, is what separates the average from the extraordinary. You can't escape pain in life, but you can choose which kind of pain builds you. The pain of effort leads to pride, peace, and growth. The pain of inaction leads to guilt, doubt, and despair. So stand up, take control, and move forward. Don't let regret become your legacy. Let action be your answer. Greatness is never a product of luck, talent, or chance. It's born from control. The ability to command yourself, to direct your thoughts, emotions, and actions toward a purpose is the highest form of power a human can possess. Every day you are giving orders to yourself. You say, I'll wake up early. I'll start that task. I'll change my habits. But the real question is, do you obey your own commands? Do your actions follow your intentions? Most people live as prisoners of their impulses. They are controlled by mood, fear, distraction, and temptation. They promise themselves improvement, yet fall back into the same patterns. Why? Because they lack self-command. They speak with authority, but act with hesitation. But the truth is, your word means nothing to the world if it means nothing to you. When you tell yourself to do something and actually do it, you strengthen your character. You build integrity with yourself. And that integrity becomes your personal power. Hebrew self-command is not about perfection. It's about alignment, aligning with your values, even when it's uncomfortable. When you say you'll do something and follow through, you prove to your subconscious that you are trustworthy, and that belief is what builds unstoppable momentum. Most people lose trust in themselves because they constantly break promises to themselves. They say they'll start tomorrow, but they don't. They say they'll stay focused, but they drift. Each broken promise chips away at confidence. The opposite is also true. Every time you honor your word, no matter how small, you build mental muscle. You train your mind to obey your higher self instead of your emotions. That's how greatness is built. One act of self-control at a time. The strongest people are not those who dominate others. They are those who master their own impulses. They can delay gratification. They can resist temptation. They can choose consistency over comfort. Their power doesn't come from external motivation. It comes from inner control. They've learned to quiet at the noise of doubt and focus their energy on progress. This kind of control doesn't come naturally. It's forged in the moments of resistance. It's built when you feel tired but still take the next step. When your body says stop, but your purpose says go. When your emotions scream no, but your discipline whispers yes. Every act of obedience to your goals rewires your mind to trust your command. Hebrew resistance is proof of growth. The mind will always fight you when you're trying to rise. It will throw excuses, fatigue, and fear in your path. But each time you win that battle, you grow stronger. You start to see yourself differently, not as a victim of moods or circumstances, but as a commander of your destiny. You no longer wait for the right feeling to act. You act, and the right feeling follows. That is the essence of power, to act on decision, not emotion. The more you practice this, the more authority you gain over your life. True freedom comes from self-mastery. When you can give yourself an order and follow it, you no longer depend on the world to motivate you. You become your own driving force. You create progress without needing permission. You move forward not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. And that kind of discipline is what separates the ordinary from the exceptional. Every day you're faced with two voices, the weak one that says, not now, and the powerful one that says, let's go. The one you obey decides your fate. If you can master yourself, you can master anything. The world bends to those who obey their own commands because they have already conquered the hardest battle, the battle within. Your emotions will never lead you to greatness. Your decisions will. If you only act when you feel motivated, you'll never build the consistency required to change your life. Feelings are temporary. They shift like the wind. One moment you feel inspired, the next moment you're drowning in doubt. If you allow your emotions to control your actions, your life will move in circles. The key to success is not feeling ready, it's acting with discipline, especially when you don't feel like it. Discipline is the muscle that keeps you moving when motivation fades. It's the voice that says, do it anyway. The more you train it, the less your emotions can interfere with your destiny. Most people wait to feel right before they begin, but the truth is, feelings follow action. When you move, even when you don't want to, your brain starts rewarding you with energy, confidence, and momentum. That's how you take control of your emotions, by proving to them who's in charge. Life will test you with emotional highs and lows, and if you're not grounded in discipline, you'll collapse every time the wave hits. One day you'll feel inspired and push hard, the next day you'll feel drained and do nothing. This instability destroys progress. Emotional control doesn't mean suppressing your feelings. It means not letting them dictate your behavior. You can feel tired and still work. You can feel fear and still act. You can feel unmotivated and still push forward. That's what separates the average from the unstoppable. Success belongs to those who do what must be done, not what they feel like doing. Every time you act against your feelings, you build emotional strength. You show your mind that effort is not negotiable. You start programming yourself for resilience. Ibrika discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. It's saying no to temporary pleasure for the sake of permanent growth. Every time you give in to comfort, you steal from your future. Every time you choose the easy path, you make the hard path even harder. Discipline is the bridge that connects your dreams to reality. It's the structure that holds your life together when everything else is uncertain. It doesn't ask for your permission, it demands your commitment. You don't need to feel like doing the work, you just need to do it. Once you start, the energy will come. Once you finish, the satisfaction will follow. The hardest part is not the task. It's overcoming the emotion that resists it. The successful don't rely on emotion, they rely on principles. They've trained their minds to act out of purpose, not mood. They've learned that motivation is a luxury, but discipline is survival. Every time they move forward without emotion's permission, they grow mentally tougher. That toughness is what allows them to stay consistent while others quit. They know that real progress happens in silence, in the moments when no one's watching, when it's just them against their feelings. Each time they rise above their emotions, they rewrite their story. Your emotions are passengers. Discipline is the driver. You can acknowledge them, but you don't hand them the wheel. You decide where your life goes, not your moods. When you understand this truth, you stop being a slave to your feelings and become the master of your fate. There will be days when you feel broken, exhausted, and uninspired. But those are the days that define you. Because the ability to move forward when everything inside you says stop, that's real power. It's the kind of power that builds unshakable confidence, the kind of power that shapes leaders, winners, and visionaries. Emotion is fleeting, but discipline is forever. Let discipline guide your life, and it will lead you to every goal you've ever dreamed of. Your mind is the most powerful muscle you possess, but like any muscle, it weakens if you don't train it. Most people treat their minds as if they were meant to remain comfortable, calm, and unchallenged. But the truth is, your mind grows only through struggle. Every time you force yourself to focus when distractions are calling, every time you continue when you feel like quitting, you are strengthening that mental muscle. Discipline is your mental gym. Each act of self-control is a repetition. Each moment of resistance is a weight lifted. The more you push through the discomfort, the more powerful your mind becomes. You start realizing that your thoughts are not commands, they are suggestions. And when you begin to control what suggestions you obey, you begin to master your life. The mind becomes obedient only when it is trained by action. Without training, it becomes your master and drags you wherever it wants. Ebrokery, your mind learns through repetition, not intention. Reading, planning, dreaming. These are easy, but forcing yourself to act, to stay consistent when it's boring or difficult, that's where true mental strength is built. The brain is wired to resist anything unfamiliar because it craves safety and predictability. But if you keep avoiding discomfort, you reinforce weakness. You teach your mind that hesitation is acceptable, that giving up is normal. That's why you must deliberately push yourself into situations that challenge you. You don't grow from what's easy, you grow from what's hard. Each time you overcome laziness or fear, you reprogram your brain. You create new neural pathways that associate action with strength, effort with pride, and progress with reward. Slowly, your brain learns that the harder something feels, the more it's worth doing. Abrew. Think of your mind as a piece of steel. If left untouched, it rusts. But when you heat it, hammer it, and shape it with purpose, it becomes sharp, strong, and unbreakable. Every mental challenge you face is an opportunity to forge that steel. When you resist distraction, when you stay disciplined, you are hammering your mind into a weapon. Over time, what once felt impossible becomes effortless. The tasks that used to intimidate you become routine. Your threshold for discomfort expands. You start craving challenge instead of running from it because your brain has learned that growth feels better than comfort. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's built through small victories repeated daily. The greatest strength you can develop is the ability to do what you must. Even when our emotions, environment, and thoughts are against you, that's when you know your mind is truly trained. You can stay calm under pressure, focused under chaos, determined under doubt. The person who can control their thoughts can control their life. Because once your mind obeys you, nothing external can break you. The challenges you face become fuel, not fear. Every struggle becomes an opportunity to prove your strength. Abrew, the mind expands when you demand more from it. It's not meant to stay idle. It's meant to create, to overcome, to lead. When you consistently train your thoughts to align with your purpose, your mind becomes a weapon of success. It stops sabotaging you and starts serving you. Every time you force yourself to act despite resistance, you strengthen this weapon. You begin to think with clarity, move with certainty, and live with direction. The difference between a weak mind and a strong one is not intelligence, it's discipline. The strong mind has been tested, challenged, and stretched. It has learned obedience through effort. So train your mind to serve your purpose, not your comfort. Because once your mind submits to your will, there is nothing in this world that can stop you from becoming everything you were destined to be. Your Scrum 9 starts as an undisciplined one. It doesn't begin powerful. It becomes powerful through resistance, repetition, and choice. Your thoughts are like wild horses. If left untrained, they'll run wherever fear leads them. But when you take control, when you guide them with intention, you start directing the force of your own life. The problem is, most people never learn to control their mental energy. They let worry, distraction, and laziness consume it. But energy follows focus. If your mind is scattered, your energy is wasted. If your focus is disciplined, your power multiplies. The mind becomes your weapon only when you teach it to obey you. That obedience comes from awareness. You must first recognize the difference bet. Wean thoughts that empower and thoughts that weaken you. The moment you learn to filter them, to ignore noise and hold attention on what truly matters, you begin to reshape your entire reality. Because what you focus on expands. If you feed fear, you grow it. If you feed strength, you build it. Ebroker, understand this. Every negative thought you entertain has a cost. It steals your clarity, your confidence, and your inner peace. When your mind is undisciplined, it reacts to everything. A single doubt becomes a storm. A small setback feels like a disaster, but when your mind is trained, you respond instead of react. You see setbacks for what they are, lessons, not losses. You stop personalizing pain and start extracting meaning from it. This is the difference between those who crumble and those who rise. The same events happen to both, but one uses the pain as fuel, while the other uses it as proof of failure. That difference lies in mental conditioning. When your mind is strong, failure doesn't break you, it builds you. You learn to control the story you tell yourself because that story shapes your destiny. The truth is, your external world is only a reflection of your internal one. If your mind is chaotic, your life will mirror that chaos. But if your mind is disciplined, your life becomes focused, aligned, and powerful. The mind is the origin of every achievement, every failure, every destiny. You cannot rise above the quality of your thoughts. If you allow fear to dominate, you'll live small. If you train your mind to see opportunity in adversity, you'll grow beyond limits. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not luckier. They're mentally stronger. They've learned to silence doubt, to reject excuses, to hold focus when everything around them screams to quit. That's what separates the average from the exceptional. Not talent, not resources, but mental mastery. The process of training your mind isn't glamorous. It's not about quick motivation or momentary inspirat. Ion is about daily discipline. It's about controlling what you feed your brain. What you read, what you watch, what you think, all shape the quality of your inner world. Every time you choose positivity over negativity, focus over distraction, patience over frustration, you're reprogramming your brain. You're teaching it strength. The mind adapts to what it's exposed to most. So if you constantly expose it to fear and doubt, that becomes its default. But if you consistently expose it to courage, action, and purpose, that becomes who you are. And the beautiful truth is, once your mind becomes strong, life gets easier. Not because the challenges disappear, but because you stop being afraid of them. You realize that obstacles are part of your evolution. Pain becomes familiar, not terrifying. Doubt becomes a signal to push harder, not give up. You stop searching for comfort and start searching for growth. That's when the world opens up to you. That's when your potential unfolds. The mind is your superpower, but only if you train it to work for you, not against you. Once you master your inner world, your outer world must follow. That is the law of mental power. You must understand that discipline is not something that happens to you. It is something you build within you. No one is born with self-control. It is forged in the moments when you refuse to do what's easy and choose instead to do what's necessary. Discipline begins with a decision to no longer negotiate with your weaknesses. Every time you let an excuse win, you strengthen your enemy within. But every time you act despite resistance, you reinforce your willpower. The mind and body adapt to what you demand from them. The more you challenge yourself, the more capable you become. The tragedy is that most people wait for motivation before taking action. They say, "I'll do it when I feel ready." But the truth is, readiness never comes. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. The moment you move, when you start despite doubt, you trigger a new energy inside you. That movement reshapes your self-image. You stop seeing yourself as someone who wishes and start seeing yourself as someone who executes. That shift in identity is the foundation of lasting discipline. Where you don't have to enjoy the work, you just have to respect the purpose behind it. Success doesn't demand excitement, it demands commitment. The most powerful individuals in history didn't feel inspired every day. They acted out of responsibility. They understood that feelings are unreliable guides. If you wait to feel good before doing what must be done, you'll spend your life trapped in mediocrity. Discipline is the art of acting independent of mood. It's showing up when you're tired, working when you're uninspired, and pushing when no one is watching. Every day you follow through on your promises, you earn self-respect, and that respect becomes your internal fuel. You start to realize that discipline is not punishment, it's liberation. Because when you are disciplined, you no longer live at the mercy of emotion. You become the master of your choices, not the victim of them. The difference between the weak and the strong is not talent, it's consistency. Anyone can work hard for a day, few can do it every day. The real test begins when the excitement fades, when no one is cheering, when the reward feels distant. That's when most people quit. But those who understand discipline know that persistence is power. Every repeated effort compounds. Every disciplined day plants a seed of mastery. Eventually, the results that seemed impossible become inevitable, because success is never one big act. It's the accumulation of countless small ones. The world may see the result, but only you know the price. And that price is paid in silence, in discipline, in relentless commitment to progress, even when progress seems invisible. Understand this: you cannot control outcomes, but you can control effort. The person who commits to consistent effort will always surpass the one who depends on bursts of inspiration. Discipline doesn't guarantee immediate success, but it guarantees eventual growth. Every time you choose effort over ease, you build mental muscle. Every time you follow through, you strengthen your identity as someone who gets things done. Over time, discipline becomes instinct. It becomes who you are. You no longer argue with yourself, you act. You no longer question your ability, you trust your habits. That's the secret power of discipline. It frees you from internal chaos. When your mind is disciplined, you stop fighting yourself and start focusing your full energy on creation. And this truth must sink deeply into your soul. Discipline is not a restriction, it's the path to freedom. The undisciplined are slaves to impulse. The disciplined are free to choose their destiny. The undisciplined chase short-term comfort. The disciplined create long-term fulfillment. You cannot live an extraordinary life with ordinary habits. Every day you delay the work, you delay your greatness. Every excuse you entertain becomes a chain that binds your potential. But every disciplined act breaks one of those chains. So when you feel the weight of resistance, smile. That resistance is proof that growth is near. It means you're moving toward strength. Don't wish for the weight to disappear. Train yourself to lift it. That's how discipline transforms you from ordinary to unstoppable. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must face the truth about procrastination. It is not harmless. It is not rest. It is quiet destruction. Every time you delay what needs to be done, you are training your mind to surrender. You are building a habit of avoidance, and avoidance is the enemy of progress. The longer you wait, the heavier the task becomes. You convince yourself that you'll start when things feel right, when the timing is better, when you have more energy. But that time never comes. The only right time to act is now. Waiting for perfect conditions is the same as choosing not to grow. You must break this illusion. You must force yourself to begin, even when your mind screams to stop, because motion creates clarity. Once you start, your energy shifts. The fog of hesitation clears and your focus strengthens. The hardest part is never the work, it's the start. You have to treat your tasks as sacred commitments, not casual options. When you make a promise to yourself and fail to keep it, you erode trust within your own mind. You begin to see yourself as unreliable, and that belief poisons everything you do. But when you act despite resistance, you repair that trust. You prove to yourself that your word has power. That's the foundation of true confidence. It's not built by external praise, but by internal consistency. Every time you complete a task you wanted to avoid, you strengthen the bond between who you are and who you want to become. You start to see yourself differently. You no longer say, "I'll try." You say, "I will." That shift in language is not small, it's everything. The subconscious mind listens closely to your words. When you speak with conviction and follow through, your mind begins to believe you are unstoppable. Procrastination thrives on emotion. It feeds on fear, perfectionism, and doubt. You tell yourself the story that you're not ready or that you need to plan more before you start. But that story is a trap. The truth is, you don't need more time. You need more courage. You must be willing to act before you feel confident. Confidence is built through motion, not imagination. Every small step forward weakens the grip of fear. Every action you take in discomfort expands your comfort zone. The most dangerous moment in life is not failure, it's stagnation. Because when you stand still long enough, you start convincing yourself that stillness is safety, but stagnation rots potential. You were not created to sit in hesitation. You were designed to move, to create, to expand. So when your mind whispers to delay, recognize it as a lie. It's not protecting you, it's holding you prisoner. Resistance is not a sign to stop, it's a signal to start. The greater the resistance, the greater the reward waiting behind it. You have to develop a warrior's mindset toward procrastination. Attack it the moment it appears. Don't negotiate with it. Don't reason with it. Act before your excuses can organize themselves. That's how you reclaim control. That's how you break the cycle. Every time you act instantly, you weaken the voice of hesitation. You train your mind to move first and think later. That is how leaders operate. They don't wait for motivation. They create it through action. Remember this forever. Procrastination doesn't just steal your time, it steals your identity. Every day you delay action, you reinforce a version of yourself that avoids responsibility. And every time you choose action, you feed a version of yourself that commands life. The gap between who you are and who you could be is measured by the number of times you said later instead of now. Stop letting your future self pay for your present hesitation. The time will never feel perfect. You will never have complete certainty. But the person who acts regardless of fear, the one who begins even when they doubt, is the one who becomes unstoppable. Action is the antidote to every fear, every excuse, every delay. Start now, because the longer you wait, the louder your doubts become. But the moment you move, everything changes. You must learn to understand the psychology of resistance. Every human being faces it, but only a few conquer it. Resistance appears whenever you attempt something meaningful. It's that invisible force that makes the bed feel heavier in the morning, that makes you scroll instead of study, that whispers, "Do it tomorrow." It's cunning. It disguises itself as logic, comfort, and reason. But make no mistake, its goal is always the same: to keep you exactly where you are. Resistance hates growth. It thrives on stagnation. The moment you decide to rise, it will attack you with excuses, fatigue, and distraction. That's not a sign that you're weak. It's a sign that you're entering the territory of progress. The stronger the resistance, the closer you are to transformation. You can't destroy it completely, but you can outgrow it. You do that by developing the habit of acting in spite of it. The person who learns to act while feeling resistance becomes unstoppable, because action breaks the illusion of difficulty. The moment you start moving, the weight of hesitation collapses. Eber, think about it. Resistance only exists before you begin. Once you're in motion, it loses its power. That's why discipline is the cure. When you rely on emotion, resistance wins. But when you rely on commitment, you win. You can't wait for the feeling to disappear. You must move through it. The key is to make action automatic. Build systems that remove choice. When you plan your tasks in advance, when you create rituals instead of relying on motivation, you take away resistance's favorite weapon, indecision. Because indecision breeds delay, and delay feeds resistance. The mind starts overthinking, analyzing, and doubting. But if the decision is already made, the energy that was once wasted on hesitation gets redirected toward progress. The more you remove friction from starting, the easier it becomes to continue. Every structure you build in your life, whether it's a morning routine, a set work schedule, or a daily goal, serves as armor against resistance. There's a secret most people never realize. Resistance gets stronger the more you feed it, but weaker the more you face it. Every time you give in, it learns that it can control you. Every time you push back, it loses confidence in its hold over you. You are constantly training your subconscious mind to either obey your fears or obey your will. That's why small victories matter so much. Each time you act when it's hard, you're not just completing a task, you're rewriting your identity. You're telling your mind, "I don't bow to discomfort." Over time, your tolerance for resistance grows. What once paralyzed you now feels light. That's how strength is built, through repeated confrontation with inner friction. You become the kind of person who no longer negotiates with hesitation. You feel it, recognize it, and move anyway. That's real power. Ibrochi, but understand this, resistance will never completely disappear. It's a companion on your journey. The greater your goals, the greater your resistance will be. That's not a curse, it's confirmation. It means your dreams are big enough to challenge your comfort zone. You must learn to expect it, welcome it, and move forward anyway. Treat resistance like a test. Each time it shows up, it's asking you one question: how badly do you want it? And your answer isn't given in words, it's given in action. The people who achieve greatness aren't those who feel fearless. They are the ones who act while trembling. They've learned that courage isn't the absence of resistance. It's the mastery of it. Tapri of it. So stop waiting for resistance to vanish. It won't. Instead, decide that your purpose is greater than your fear. When resistance rises, let it be the signal to move faster. Let it remind you that you're alive, that you're pushing limits, that you're growing beyond who you were yesterday. Every battle with resistance strengthens your willpower. Every act of defiance builds your character. And over time, what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. That's how transformation happens. Not in the absence of struggle, but through your refusal to surrender to it. So when resistance shows up tomorrow, smile. It means you're walking the right path. You must remember that progress is not built on speed, it's built on persistence. The world glorifies quick success, but true growth happens quietly over time in the unseen moments of endue. Rants. When you decide to force yourself to get things done, you are not just chasing results. You are sculpting a new identity. Persistence is the bridge between intention and achievement. It's what keeps you moving when the excitement fades and the reward feels far away. Every day that you persist, you send a signal to your subconscious that quitting is not an option. That signal rewires your belief system. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes what they start. That belief becomes a powerful force. It shapes your actions, your confidence, and ultimately your destiny. But persistence requires one essential ingredient, faith. You must have faith in your process, even when results are invisible, because every effort counts, even when it doesn't show. Growth is slow, but it is certain for those who refuse to stop. There will be days when everything inside you screams to quit, days when progress feels meaningless, when effort feels wasted, when doubt feels louder than discipline. Those are the defining days, the days that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. Most people give up when results are delayed, not realizing that progress often hides beneath the surface. Just like seeds take time to break the soil, your efforts need time to manifest. The key is to keep showing up, especially when it feels pointless. Persistence is not about perfection, it's about refusal. Refusal to accept defeat. Refusal to be defined by temporary setbacks. Refusal to surrender your vision to fatigue. Every time you push through one more day, you increase your capacity to endure. And endurance is what transforms effort into excellence. You must detach from the need for instant validation. That need is the enemy of persistence. When you constantly measure progress by external approval, you weaken your inner strength. Real persistence is built from within. It comes from knowing that the effort itself is a victory, that the process, not the applause, is where transformation happens. The people who reach the top are those who learned to love the climb. They understood that struggle is not punishment, it's preparation. Every repetition of discipline, every moment of fatigue, every silent battle with doubt is shaping you into someone stronger. You're not just achieving goals, you're becoming the kind of person who can achieve anything. That's what persistence does. It molds you into your highest self. Persistence is also about emotional control, the ability to keep moving forward when emotions fluctuate. There will be moments of excitement and moments of emptiness. You can't rely on feelings to carry you. Feelings change. Commitment doesn't. When your emotions rise and fall, your principles must remain steady. You must keep the promise you made to yourself, even on the days you don't feel like it. That's the mark of a disciplined mind. It's not that the strong never feel weak. It's that they act with strength regardless. You have to remind yourself why you started and, more importantly, who you are becoming through the process. Each step you take in persistence builds resilience. Each day you stay committed sharpens your mind and fortifies your spirit. So keep going, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because the struggle is proof that you're moving. You're building something unseen. Mental armor, inner strength, unshakable belief. One day, the effort that felt invisible will erupt into undeniable results. But only if you stay. Only if you persist through the discomfort, through the boredom, through the doubt. That's the price of greatness. Endurance in the face of uncertainty. And when you finally reach the summit, you'll realize that it wasn't the goal that changed you. It was the persistence that forged you. Keep walking, keep working, keep believing. Because the moment you stop forcing yourself forward, you start drifting backward. Persistence is not just a habit, it's a lifestyle. Hey, brother, there comes a time when you realize that all the discipline, all the persistence, all the mental strength you've built was never just about achieving a goal. It was about transforming who you are. The greatest victory is not in the accomplishment itself, but in the person you become through the struggle. When you force yourself to get things done, you awaken a deeper part of your being, a part that doesn't depend on comfort, on luck, or on external support. You become someone who moves because it's necessary, not because it's easy. That is the level where success becomes inevitable, because success at its core is not an act, it's an identity. You stop chasing motivation and start embodying discipline. You stop waiting for opportunity and start creating it. You become the cause of your results, not the victim of your circumstances. That is the ultimate transformation, when you no longer need to push yourself. You simply act because it's who you are. You must understand that the reward for discipline is freedom. When you live undisciplined, you are controlled by your moods, impulses, and fears. You are trapped in cycles of regret and delay. But when you live with discipline, you create internal order. You command your thoughts, your actions, your outcomes. You are no longer reactive. You are intentional. That's what true freedom feels like. It's not doing whatever you want. It's having the power to do what's right, even when you don't want to. That power changes everything. It gives you confidence that no external validation can match. You stop seeking permission from the world and start granting it to yourself. That is the essence of self-mastery, to be in control of your direction, your energy, your destiny. But this journey doesn't end. The moment you stop growing, you start decaying. The process of self-discipline, of pushing through resistance, is a lifelong practice. You must wake up every day and recommit to your purpose. The mind you've trained will always try to return to comfort if left unchecked. So remind yourself daily of what's at stake. Every time you choose comfort, you sacrifice progress. Every time you choose growth, you sacrifice weakness. The question is simple. Which version of yourself are you feeding? You must decide again and again to rise. Because no matter how far you've come, the next level always demands a new version of you. The disciplined, consistent version that doesn't settle for good enough, but demands greatness from itself. And when you finally look back, you'll realize something profound. It was never the external rewards that mattered, the success, the achievements, the recognition. They're temporary. What lasts is the strength you built in silence, the confidence that you can handle whatever comes next, the deep inner peace that comes from knowing you kept your word to yourself. That's what all of this is about, trust. The ability to trust yourself completely because you've proven that you can rise every time you fall. That kind of trust creates unshakable power. It's the foundation upon which extraordinary lives are built. You'll carry that with you into every challenge, every opportunity, every new beginning. So, in the end, forcing yourself to get things done isn't about punishment. It's about awakening the strength that was always within you but buried under fear and hesitation. You are capable of more than you imagine. You are built for struggle, for progress, for victory. But none of it becomes real until you act. The mind you command determines the life you live. So take control. Decide that from this moment forward, you will not wait for conditions. You will create them. You will not seek ease. You will seek growth. You will not wish. You will work. Because everything you want already exists on the other side of effort. Discipline is the bridge. Persistence is the path. And your willpower is the engine. The world belongs to those who act. So act now. Move forward. Become the person who gets things done no matter what. Because once you do, nothing will ever be able to stop you again.